Good afternoon. Welcome to Tribune News on Q, your go-to afternoon news source, only here at Daily Tribune. We're live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune Now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok. For today's headlines, Vice President Sara Duterte criticized President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. again as he deals with the flood control corruption issue, even though she continues to avoid explaining how she used the millions in confidential funds given to her as Vice President and former Education Secretary. The Department of Budget and Management said the education sector will get a record high of 1.28 trillion peso in the House-approved 2026 national budget. This is the first time the education budget will go over 4% of the country's GDP, according to the DBM. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, chairperson of the Senate Committee on Finance, expressed skepticism reported insertions in the National Expenditure Program, also known as the President's Budget, calling the practice odd but possible. The Food and Drug Administration has cautioned the public against buying or selling any health product that does not have FDA authorization, whether in physical stores or on online platforms. Cash remittances from overseas Filipino workers reached 3.12 billion US dollars in September 2025, 3.7% higher than the 3.1 billion US dollars sent in the same month last year, according to Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. From January to September, total remittances climbed up to 26.3 billion US dollars, up to 3.2% from the 25.23 billion US dollar recorded during the same period in 2024. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index closed for noon is up to 304 to 5,753.92 points, a noticeable improvement from Friday's 5-year low. Actor Oyo Boy Soto opened up about his past struggles, including losing money for his vices when he was younger. Lionel Messi has spent nearly 2 decades weaving himself into Argentina's soccer identity, but even at 38, he continues to find new ways to expand his legend. November 17th, and I'm Louisse Kalingag, bringing you today's top stories. Now let's move on to today's headlines. VP Sara blasts Marcos amid unresolved funds issue. Vice President Sara Duterte criticized President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. again for how he is dealing with the flood control corruption issue, even though she continues to avoid explaining how she used the millions in confidential funds given to her as Vice President and former Education Secretary. In a statement released by her office on Monday, November 17, Duterte said Marcos is now facing a serious loss of public trust because the corruption investigations seem unclear and weak. She also questioned how the 2025 budget, which she said cost Filipinos billions, was approved while he was in charge. The Department of Budget and Management said the education sector will get a record high of 1.28 trillion peso in the House-approved 2026 national budget. This is the first time the education budget will go over 4% of the country's GDP, according to the DBM. DBM said the allocation covers the entire education sector, including the Department of Education, state universities and colleges, the Commission on Higher Education, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, chairperson of the Senate Committee on Finance, expressed skepticism over reported insertions in the National Expenditure Program, also known as the President's Budget, calling the practice odd but impossible. He noted that many of the inserted projects were small-scale, such as the construction of secondary roads in Valenzuela, rather than major infrastructure like highways. Upon closer examination, Gatchalian observed further inconsistencies, including the president vetoing several projects that were reportedly inserted, raising questions about the credibility of former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldico's claims. The Food and Drug Administration has cautioned the public against buying or selling any health product that does not have the FDA authorization, whether in physical stores or on online platforms. In an advisory released on 11 November and obtained by Daily Tribune on Monday, the agency stressed that unauthorized products, those without a Certificate of Product Notification or CPN, or a Certificate of Product Registration or CPR, have not undergone the FDA's quality and safety review. Beyond prohibiting the purchase and sale of unauthorized items, the advisory also bans their manufacture, importation, exportation, distribution, promotion, advertising, or sponsorship. Cash remittances from overseas Filipino workers reached 3.12 billion US dollars in September 2025, rising 3.7% from 3.1 billion US dollars in the same month last year, according to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. This pushed total remittances for January to September to 26.3 billion US dollars, a 3.2% increase compared to the 25.23 billion US dollars sent during the same period in 2024. The United States remained the top source of remittances for the first 9 months of 2025, followed by Singapore and Saudi Arabia. However, the BSP noted that the country-specific data has some limitations because many remittance centers send money through correspondent banks, often located in the U.S., and transactions handled by money couriers cannot always be traced back to the actual country where they were sent. All sectors finished in the green, with financial leading the way at 4.12%, followed by property at 3%. BDO leads all blue chip stocks so far for the day, upward 5.29%. The uptick shows strong bargain hunting from investors buying low following Friday's downturn due to the first installment of former Congressman Zaldico's video expose alleging President Marcos was the mastermind of alleged 100 billion peso worth of budget insertions. Combined with the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's probe into the flood control scandal resuming, government corruption still weighs heavily on investor sentiment. Actor Oyo Boy Soto opened up about his past struggles, including losing money for his vices when he was younger. Oyo talked about his past drug use and alcohol addiction to his actress mom Dina Bonnevie, wife Christine Hermosa, and sister Danica Soto and brother-in-law Mark Pingres in Dina's online show. Oyo talked about how true repentance brings change. He said that this is achieved through addressing the root cause of the issue and actively finding a solution to it. Corrupt din ako dati. I was corrupted. Nagsisinungaling ako, nambababae, nagda-drugs, umiinom, nagsisigarilyo, kung ano-ano, Oyo admitted. Pero when I met Jesus, noong nagkaroon ako ng relasyon sa Kanya, doon naayos yung buhay ko. Paano? Repentance, he added. Lionel Messi has spent nearly 2 decades weaving himself into Argentina's soccer identity, but even at 38, he continues to find new ways to expand his legend. His latest act came in Argentina's 2-0 win over Angola on Friday, Saturday Manila time, where he delivered yet another moment of vintage brilliance, this time while strengthening one of the most productive partnerships of the Albiceleste's modern era. With a single, perfectly measured pass in the 43rd minute, Messi slipped the ball into space for Lautaro Martinez, who finished sharply to give Argentina the lead. It was a familiar sight, two world champions connecting with effortless chemistry, another snapshot of the nation's ongoing golden era. Netizens are having a good laugh over a video of Michael V singing Sometimes When We Touch with an AI-generated face of Manny Pacquiao while trying to imitate his voice. The video has now reached 185K likes, 2K comments, and nearly 100K shares on TikTok. Netizens also comment on a mix-up of the two personalities with names such as Paquito Manaloto and Manny V. The Cry of Santa Barbara. Did you know, Katribo, the first public declaration of Philippine independence in the Visayas and Mindanao happened in Santa Barbara, Iloilo. The event began with the formal setup and inauguration of the Provisional Revolutionary Government of the Visayas. At dawn, members of the Committee Central Revolucionarios de Visayas from across the province attended a Thanksgiving Mass at the town church. After the Mass, they went to Vicente Bermejo's house near the town plaza, which served as the headquarters of General Martin Delgado, the Army's commander-in-chief. Outside, a freshly cut bamboo pole was set up as a flagpole, and a large crowd, including a regiment of the Revolutionary Army, gathered. When Delgado appeared and raised the Philippine flag, the crowd erupted in cheers, marking a historic moment in the Visayan struggle for independence. That's all for now, mga katribu. Join us again at 4:30 p.m. for more updates. I'm Louisse Kalingag, and this has been Tribune News on Cue.